bleached hair and a snarl that could cut glass decides he is going to make music. Not safe music, not radio-friendly music. Punk rock. The kind of music that made parents nervous and record labels laugh. The kind of music that everyone around him said would be dead in 6 months. And you know what? They were probably right. About everything except him. That kid was Billy Idol, and 50 years later, he just closed the American Music Awards with a Lifetime Achievement Award in his hand and 2 of the greatest rock songs ever written still blasting out of him like it was 1982. 50 years. Let that sink in. If you are new here and you want the real story behind the moments the headlines skim over, subscribe to Celebrity Newspedia right now. We do not just cover what happened. We break down why it matters, what it means, and what everyone else is too lazy to dig into. Hit that subscribe button and stay with us, because this one is worth every second. Back to Billy. Here is what people do not fully understand about what happened at the AMAs. This was not just an old rock star getting a participation trophy for staying alive. This was not a nostalgia act wheeled out to make the audience feel warm and fuzzy before they cut to a commercial. What Billy Idol did on that stage was something that almost nobody in the history of popular music has managed to do. He made 50 years look effortless. He made half a century of grind look like a choice he would make again tomorrow without blinking. Leon Thomas, a Grammy-winning R&B star, presented him the award. And here is the part that hits different when you really think about it. Leon Thomas said he became a fan of Billy Idol through his late stepdad, musician John Kevin Jones. That is not just a nice anecdote. That is the entire point. Billy Idol's music crossed genres, crossed generations, crossed grief. It traveled through a family. It outlived the person who first loved it and landed in the hands of someone new who carried it forward. That is not a career. That is a legacy. And Billy Idol stood there in that blazer and said thank you like a man who genuinely meant it. I've been able to live my dream. It's really because of all of you. No ego spiral. No acceptance speech that turned into a therapy session. Just a man who understood exactly where his success came from and said it out loud without hesitation. 50 years and he's still the king. Now here is the question that should be rattling around in your head right now. In an industry that chews people up, repackages them, drops them the second the algorithm shifts, and replaces them before they have even cleaned out their dressing room. How does someone not just survive for 50 years but arrive at year 50 still performing, still relevant, still commanding a room? Because let us be honest, the music industry in 2026 does not care about your history. It does not care about your catalog. It does not care about what you did in 1982 or 1983 or even 2015. The industry right now rewards whoever went viral on Tuesday. So how is Billy Idol standing on the AMA stage closing the whole show while artists half his age are fighting for a slot in the opening act? The answer is in something he said that most people will repost without actually hearing. When I started out in punk rock back in 1976, we thought it may only last about 6 months, let alone 50 years. But we were doing it for the love. And because music was the only thing that gave us a sort of feeling of freedom. Do you hear what he is actually saying there? He is saying they never did it for the outcome. They did it because the alternative, a life without that feeling of freedom, was not a life they were willing to live. That is not a motivational poster quote. That is a survival strategy. That is the entire blueprint. When you are doing something because it is the only thing that makes you feel real, you do not stop when it gets hard. You do not stop when the critics walk away. You do not stop when the industry tells you your moment has passed. You just keep going. Because stopping was never actually an option. 50 years and he's still the king. He then walked to that stage with Steve Stevens, his guitarist, his musical partner. A man he has been making music with for decades. And they played Eyes Without a Face and Dancing with Myself, and the room felt every single second of it. Not out of nostalgia, out of recognition. The recognition that some things do not age because they were never really about the moment they were made in. They were about something permanent. Something that lives in the chest cavity of everyone who has ever felt like an outsider looking for a way through. And if that was not enough, Billy Idol and Steve Stevens are being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame together on November 14th in Los Angeles. The ceremony airs in December on ABC and Disney+. Together. Two people who built something side by side for 50 years getting the recognition in the same room at the same time. There is something quietly radical about that in an industry that loves to pick one person to celebrate and erase everyone around them. He ended his speech with a message, not to the industry. It's not to whoever doubted him in 1976 or 1986 or 2006, to the kids, to any kid out there who loves rock and roll or any music of any kind. If you're inspired to create that sense of freedom and pursue a life of art, then all I can say is pick an instrument, find out who you are, and be it. Pick an instrument. Find out who you are. And be it 50 years and he's still the king. That is the whole thing. That is the entire 50-year career distilled into one sentence. Not a formula. Not a shortcut. Not a strategy session with a management team about brand positioning. Just the radical, terrifying, a completely unglamorous act of figuring out who you actually are and then refusing to be anything else no matter what the room tells you. Billy Idol did not survive 5 decades in music because he was the most talented person in the room, though the man can clearly still deliver. He survived because he never needed the room's permission to keep going. He had already decided. Back in 1976, in a London that was loud and broke and angry, he had already decided and he never undecided. The AM a Lifetime Achievement Award is not the end of the story. It is not even close to the end. A man heading into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with his creative partner, still performing at full power, still speaking directly to the next generation like he has something real left to give. That is not a goodbye. That is a man in the middle of something. And the unanswered question, the one worth sitting with, is this. If Billy Idol had listened in 1976, if he had believed the 6 months prediction, if he had taken the safer road, what does the last 50 years of music sound like without him? What does it feel like? How many people who found themselves through Dancing with Myself or Eyes Without a Face or any of it? How do they find themselves instead? We will never know. Because he did not stop. Now we want to hear from you. Drop it in the comments right now. What is the one Billy Idol song that hit you differently? The one that felt like it was made specifically for you? Tell us. Because the comment section on this one is going to be something special. And if this video gave you something, if it made you think, made you feel, made you see this AM a moment as more than just a highlights clip, then like it, share it, subscribe to Celebrity Newspedia, and turn on notifications. We break down the biggest moments in celebrity culture in real time every single week, and we do not let the real story get buried under the headline. You do not want to miss what is coming next.